OIF1. We just left off with what was the name of the town? I know
Safwan.
Safwan. I keep butchering that one. So I guess you can. Oh, and the dates still freaking Saturday, November 3rd, 2007. We're still at Ramadi, Iraq, at 17th Street Security Station, and we're in the hookah room right now.
Yep.
Which is a water pipe for smoking. So this is where everyone smokes in here. It's quite a loud room, I'm sure, as you can tell by the purple wallpaper. All right, sir, you want to continue on?
Yeah. So from Safwan, we all pile back into the tracks, and the tracks is where we spent most of our trip to Baghdad. During the war, we spend 36, 48 hours in a track at a time. So the sleep that we were getting wasn't very much. We'd fall asleep and you end up sleeping on another Marine, or sleeping on, with your head on the buttstock of your weapon, and it just wasn't very good sleep. So when we did stop, we'd stop and we'd set up a little 360 security area, and sometimes we'd be in a company size, but most of the time we'd be it'd be platoon size 360 with like the rest of the company not too far away, so that they could be adjacent supporting, and that's when we would be able to take the time to the entire time that we were during the war, we weren't allowed to take our boots off, just in case the fighting, because we were constantly in the fight. It wasn't like now where you leave your fob and you go into the fight. Here, wherever you're at, you're in the fight, so you got to be ready for it. So
fob. What's a fob?
Forward operating base.
Okay.
Where you got you got a defensive position set up. It's real built up and stuff.
So still early in the war, there was no such thing as fobs.
No, not at all. It was just a moving bunch of Marines. So your security was each other. So we'd stop and we'd dig fighting holes, and we'd basically live in those fighting holes, and we'd get a chance every once in a while. We were usually at 25%, which means that in your fire team of 4 guys, 1 guy was always on security, awake and watching, making sure that no one comes into his sectors. And protecting the rest of the Marines, and then every once in a while we'd be down to like 1 Marine per squad was up, or even 2 Marines per squad was up. So the other guys would get a few hours to take their boots off and let your feet dry out, to keep from getting trench foot, and then you'd change socks. And we only had 1 or 2 set of camis. I believe we always had 2 sets, but why are you going to change camis if you're just going to put the same, you're just going to get dirty right away immediately anyways.
Well, I got a question. So at that time, since the war, there was a lot of focus on the chemical warfare threat. I recall from news footage of the war, y'all were in the same
mop suits.
And that was for?
That was their biological suits that have charcoal inside to protect you from the weapons, chemical
warfare. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and
I assume y'all, for the fear of being attacked, y'all probably really couldn't be going in and out of those suits, did you? Did you have several pair, or just?
No, we lived in the one set of mop suits, and I remember the day they said we could take them off. I don't remember when it was, but I remember, them giving us the news and being extremely happy about it. But yeah, they got real dirty, and I remember getting what's that called when you get a rash on your back from wearing the same flak all the time with the same dirty suit and everything like that. Heat rash. I ended up getting a heat rash because of that, and that, or prickly heat, some of the guys call it, and that sucks. So you end up having to wash yourself, make sure you're real clean and stuff. But
I assume that the first time you put on the you call them NBC suits or mop suits was that was during the Scud launch, or did you have those on long?
They actually
they
issued us that stuff right before we stepped. So we had, you know, inside our gas mask pouches, we had our gloves, and I think that's where we kept our boots also, just that they were right there and handy. You know, rubber gloves, rubber boots that would slip over your regular boots, and then we wore that the entire time. That's right. Yeah, part of me always, like, I'm so used to wearing camis now that it's like, yeah, we wore camis, but no, we didn't wear camis at all during the war, except for like after like certain parts of the like, it was before we got to the oil ministry, we got to change back into camis.
And the oil ministry was in Baghdad.
Was in Baghdad, yep.
Okay.
So before we even made it to Baghdad, the chemical threat was gone. But I remember when we were in Nasiriyah, that's when we really thought we were gonna get gassed, because they said that Saddam had given the okay, like, to, you know, to use gas on the Americans. So like that night, I slept with my gas mask open and ready to go, just because I was afraid that we were going to get gassed. Like, I thought for sure.
Oh, God. I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand. You said were you wearing camis underneath your mop suit, or were you wearing?
No, we didn't wear, or at least I didn't wear. Some of the Marines, I guess, wore camis underneath their mop suits. I didn't, just because it was hot, and you know, there's no reason to just get dirty and stuff anyway. So
okay, well, I
try to keep cool.
I assume that activated charcoal that lined your suits. I guess that was one of the problems you were referring to your boots, that the sweat and whatnot was
yeah.
Could you tell us a little about that?
It all run down, like all the sweat would run down into your boots, and if you're wearing the rubber boots, I remember wearing the rubber boots for a long time, and no kidding, when you'd take these rubber boots off, you could dump the sweat out, because you'd have so much sweat in your rubber boots that you could just dump it out, and that made it real bad for trench foot and stuff like that, to try and, you know, keep your boots dry, or get your boots dry after that, and keep your feet clean. I remember at one point, and I'll never forget this, because you just never think it would come to this, but I ended up running out of socks. Well, you know, you wear the same socks for like 4 days without taking your boots off, and they end up getting like pasted to your feet, so you like peel them off, and it's like, you know, and you peel them off, and you go to change in socks. Well, I reached in my pack, and I ended up dumping out my entire pack, because I couldn't believe I was out of socks, and I was out of socks, so I ended up taking a pair of dirty socks and my canteen cup and a canteen of water, and, you know, pouring some soap in there and washing a pair of socks in my canteen cup, because I was all out of clean ones, and I needed a set, and I, you know, had to do it. So I ended up, you know, doing that, drying them out and wearing those, and it felt great, you know, being able to have a brand new set of socks on again.
Well, that must have been a desperate act of, because you know, I assume as a avid coffee drinker, the canteen cup being the only thing I guess you use to warm your coffee, then that must have been pretty bad, because I'm sure some of that coffee for a while was tasting like soap and water.
Yeah,
and raunchy socks.
I made sure to clean out the cup real good afterwards. But yeah, that canteen cup was my lifesaver over there. I'm a very avid coffee drinker, and me and Lance Corporal Sullivan, Shannon Sullivan, every morning that we had the chance, that we were out in fighting holes and just, you know, standing by for a few days. Like, sometimes we'd stop for a few days before we'd push, so we'd just sit in a security area, and in the morning, you know, you go to bed at dark, right when it's dark out, because, you know, there's no light, you can't use flashlights, everything's got to be extremely dark, there's no smoking at night, you know, just because of the light threat. You know, you don't want the enemy to see any ash, cigarette cherries or anything like that, so so you go to bed right at dark, and then you end up waking up, you know, 10 hours later with a full night's sleep, and it was sunrise, you know, and
this is when you weren't on the move.
This is when we were.
When you're on the move, y'all weren't getting 10 hours of sleep.
Yeah, no. When we were on the move, if we had to go any distance, we would sit in the track for, you know, 2-3 days and get no sleep, and then, you know, we'd still have to function and stuff. So that really sucked. But when we were in